Good morning and welcome to the Morning Breath live stream. I'm your host, Jeremy Tennell, systems designer and coherence coach. And this is day 25 of week 5 in our 14-week journey of exploring the path of personal transformation. And today is Friday, which means that we return to breath. So today we are going to talk about breath once more, but we're going to talk about it from a different perspective. We're going to talk about it from the idea of breath being sacred. Sacred is not a word we use very much in our culture. We've, for the most part, attempted to abandon sacredness out of this culture because it has non-materialistic contexts. It has a context that is rooted in the spiritual. And we're afraid of those things. We shun those things because they're untangible. We can't prove them. They are out of our reach. And unless it reaches through a scientific lens, then it has limited worth. But the reality is, for millennia, our ancestors were deeply rooted in a way of being that wasn't just material. It wasn't just outside of ourselves. It wasn't just something that we could put our hands on. They leaned into being comfortable with the mystery. They leaned into the things that they didn't know and they would never truly know, but they could be in relationship with. And that's the key. That's the key to all of this, is relationship. We're not talking about knowledge all the time. We're talking about practice in the personal path of transformation. And practice is relationship. Practice is leaning into the mystery that we don't know and still doing it anyways. I don't know where life is going to go. I don't know what tomorrow is going to bring, but I still put one step in front of the other and I keep moving forward because practice perpetuates me forward. And in this, we are practicing breath, and breath is sacred, and it's sacred because it is deeply rooted to life. We inhale, we exhale, we contract, we expand, we receive, and we give. In the ancient Hawaiian, the very word aloha expresses this. Alo means presence, and ha means the breath of life. So together, they literally mean sharing the breath of life face to face. This is what the concept of chi is tied to, or ki, or mana. It's tied to this concept of energy and breath and the exchange and the power that exists within it. These are ancient concepts. It's going to be extraordinarily vital as our culture continues to move towards a technical and digital understanding of the world, that we reroot ourselves in the things that we do not understand, and that we lean into the mystery of life. Because if we don't, an intelligence that's going to move faster than us, that's going to be able to expand faster than us, will easily be able to be deployed in for-profit reasons in order to further capture and colonize your attention, your money, your ability to forward. We don't have a lot of self-control in our lives today. We're not leaning into the kind of things that cultivate solid foundations as a culture. And that puts us in a precarious position. It's so easy to complain and to blame those above us in a hierarchy for the problems that we're experiencing because they hold responsibility. Because we've constructed a hierarchical environment, a hierarchical culture, which means that in our culture, at least, there's the perception or illusion that we're voting people in above us, but who's above them? And how do those influences and powers determine our day-to-day? But more importantly, why are we giving our own personal sovereignty over to individuals who do not have our best interest in mind? Violence is never an answer. But if you want to cultivate personal sovereignty, that simply requires you to plant yourself in the space in which you're in right now, build a foundation that you can stand up on, and then build a house in which your consciousness and presence can reside in peace, and then expand outward from there into community, into environments in which you can connect your empowerment to others. That's the path forward. And everything in our world, everything in our world is going to want to take a piece of your money, your attention, your ability to create, because you give it up easily. We all sit and doom scroll. What's that doing for us? That's just giving it up easily. The important part of this practice is to remain here first. Become comfortable with here first. It can be done. It can be done. And breath is our starting point. Breath is the first practice in all of this. I think one of the things about breath that is important to build awareness with is its constant motion. Breath is like the waves of the ocean. It's like any ebb and flow. And it's more than just the biological function of respiration. Through breath, you not only can bring yourself into presence, but you can also explore and expand the internal self. The observer can be turned on and move around through breath. Move through your emotional state, move through your mental state, move through your intuitive state. Breath is the starting point. So every day we practice breath because we are working to become familiar with it. We are working to learn how incredibly expansive it is as a tool, as a mechanism, and as a sacred practice. That's my hope for you in all of this, is that you are learning to ground yourself in practice. So let's do so. Let's find a comfortable seat and let's roll our shoulders, move our hips a little bit. And we're going to start with 2 breaths and exhale with a sigh. So let's breathe in, place our hands over our heart, relax your forehead, relax your gaze. In through your nose for about 6 seconds. Exhale through your mouth. In through your nose. Exhale through your mouth. Begin our gratitude list. I'm grateful to be here. Grateful for the sunrise. Grateful for my support system. Grateful for spiral outward and expand. You get distracted, come back to your breath and your gratitude. So inhale with a big breath. Exhale with a sigh. One more time, come back to the space. We've talked about self-regulation. We've talked about self-inquiry. We've talked about self-reflection and self-awareness. We've dug into the practices of how to utilize these things over the past 5 weeks. It's week 6 next week, and we're going to talk about some of the mechanisms of being. So we've given the tools for the foundation. Now we build the structure on top of it. We learn how to live and lean into our own personal sovereignty, because until we can be responsible for ourselves, we can't be responsible for much more. And there's a whole world out there that requires our attention. It requires our awareness. It requires our responsibility, and it requires our accountability. But until we start with ourselves, we're not ready. So lean into the practices. And next week, we start talking about the structure. Have a very good day, everyone. See you Monday, 5:30 a.m.